And the story begins at an airport with a plane flying high in the blue sky. Inside the building, we see many people walking back and forth. Focusing on a man in a floral shirt, he seems to be waiting for someone. Soon after, a young man with black hair walks past him in the crowd. Carrying his bags, the young man heads toward the airport exit. Finally, we see the group gathered together, leaving the passenger terminal. The older man looks super excited and shouts that the air in South Korea is different. His wife scolds him, saying not to talk like that because they could get into trouble. Annoyed, the boy asks if they really have to wear these strange clothes. His mother then places a hand on his head and calls him her son. Hugging her handsome son, she says he can't talk like that here. Now on the road, they take a taxi to their final destination. Suddenly, a giant building appears in front of them, leaving them impressed. They continue on their way and pass by another building with a very odd shape. The father sticks his head out of the car, completely shocked by the colorful buildings. Inside the car, the whole family reacts differently to the big city. Surprised, the man asks if all the buildings in the city are really so tall. The mother just smiles calmly, watching her husband's reaction. Meanwhile, our protagonist remains sulky and thoughtful in the back seat. The taxi driver then comments that it seems like it's been a while since they visited Seoul. Excited, the father shouts that it's their first time there, and the taxi driver is left confused. The man even points out of the car, amazed by the city view. The mother then playfully hits her husband on the head, telling him to look at the buildings. Not understanding anything, the driver just keeps driving down the road, confused. After getting hit, the father is a little dizzy in the front seat of the car. While the mother laughs at the situation, our protagonist looks very embarrassed. Finally, they arrive at their destination, which is a very fancy residential building. From below, the family looks up to the top, and the mother is enchanted with the place. Apparently, their apartment costs over $4 million. Despite being sulky on the outside, the young man is also impressed by the building. Just as he was about to say something, a security guard approaches the group to speak with them. The guard asks which unit they are visiting and says they need a pass. The group stares at the security guard for a moment without saying a single word. The father then points to the top floor and says their home is the biggest one of all. Shocked by the answer, the guard breaks into a cold sweat, not knowing what to do. The mother confirms they moved in last month, and the son makes a peace sign. With wide eyes, the security guard is completely frozen in surprise. Changing scenes, we are taken to the Seoul International School. In a classroom, a teacher announces the arrival of a transfer student. The students then start whispering, wondering who the new kid could be. The classmates continue to whisper, surprised by the new student's arrival. One student says that being in the advanced class already shows the boy is smart. Seeing that he isn't moving, the teacher asks if he isn't going to introduce himself. Standing in front of the class, the young man remains silent for a few moments. Breaking the silence, he finally introduces himself to the class as Kang Jian. With a serious expression, the boy asks everyone to take good care of him. One of the girls in the class immediately develops a crush and thinks the new kid is super cool. The girl says he's her ideal type, and her friend comments that Era already has her eye on him. With no time to waste, the teacher tells the young man to sit down so the class can begin. He then chooses an empty seat in the back of the room to sit down. A red-haired bully watches him sit down right next to him at the desk. The redhead and his companion stare at the protagonist with a less than friendly expression. The teacher asks if Jian can keep up with this semester's material. The new kid simply crosses his arms and remains silent, saying nothing. She then challenges him to solve a super complicated math problem on the board. The protagonist faces the challenge with a super focused and determined look. He thinks for a second and simply states the answer 224. The teacher is completely shocked and speechless upon hearing the correct answer. After answering, he picks up his pen and starts scribbling something in his notebook. He then raises his hand and calmly tells the teacher that he just solved it. A classmate is stunned as the teacher confirms the answer is correct. In disbelief, the teacher asks if he really solved a high-level problem mentally. She adds to the question, shocked because he solved it all in a very short time. Even the red-haired bully and his friend are surprised by the new kid's intelligence. The other students in the room are also flabbergasted by the young man's genius. The girl who liked him becomes even more interested and says he's even more her type. Sitting in his chair, the protagonist crosses his arms with a very confident air. With a determined look, he thinks to himself that he will complete his mission. Suddenly, the scene changes to a flashback of a younger Jian out of breath in the forest. Running desperately, he looks very tired and has several injuries on his body. In another moment, we see the boy studying hard with English and math books. A shadowy figure watches him from behind as he dedicates himself intensely to his studies. In its hands, the mysterious figure holds a very sharp combat knife. Soon after, the young man practices punching a tree with the mysterious man watching him. Several targets on the trees indicate he also trained his throwing or aiming skills. A little older now, Jian trains his aim using a firearm. In a snow-covered setting, he continues his punch training with great force. The man in uniform continues to closely watch the boy's tough training. A single tear runs down the young man's face, who looks sad but determined. Finally, the two face each other in a forest clearing with a rock between them. The young man then runs at high speed toward his trainer to attack him. During the fight, Jian delivers a powerful kick, but the man defends himself with a knife. The master blocks the boy's punch with ease, showing his superiority. With wide eyes, the protagonist is shocked by his opponent's skill. The man in uniform then counterattacks with a strong kick to the young man. The trainer maintains a serious and focused expression throughout the fight. Even after taking a hit, Jian gets up with a look full of anger and determination. In a frantic confrontation, the two exchange blows using curved blade weapons. Back in the present, an officer informs Agent 7 that his mission has been set. His auto operation will be South Korea, as a covered face officer states. He advises that the mission will take more than 10 years to complete. The objective is to infiltrate the upper class and build political and economic connections. After that, he must simply await orders from the party to act. The weight of the mission makes our protagonist break into a cold sweat and very tense. The superior asks if he understood and Jian responds with a military salute. Suddenly, he notices two figures entering the command room behind the officer. It was his parents who were also wearing military uniforms, looking very serious. The officer then introduces the two as the comrades who will help him on the mission. His new partners look at him with a serious and professional expression. The superior adjusts his cap, satisfied with the team formed for the operation. With a serious expression, our protagonist accepts the mission without question. His fake parents seem shaken, and the man even wipes a tear from his face. Back in the present, the family settles in their new and luxurious apartment. From the window, the father observes the vastness of Seoul, completely amazed. He then turns to his wife and asks if Jian will be fooled by them. The woman responds with a worried expression, and her husband looks very sad. Hugging his wife, he tells her not to be rash and to remain calm. He adds that getting the boy out of that terrible place is enough for now. At school, a classmate comments that the popular Era has her eye on the new kid. The protagonist just looks to the side, not quite understanding what's happening. Soon, a group of girls surrounds him, curious about his sudden transfer. They ask where he came from and if his father works in the ministry. Visibly uncomfortable, the young man starts to sweat, not knowing what to answer. Seeing the confusion, the so-called Era approaches the group with a very confident air. The popular girl stands in front of him with her friends around her. With a smile on her face, she introduces herself to the young man as Liara. The girl then asks if his name is really Kang Jian, and he stares at her in silence. With an analytical gaze, our protagonist observes her attentively, as if she were a target. Later that night, the young man is in his room studying, focused on the mission. On his desk, we see Liara's file with all her personal data. With a serious expression, our protagonist remains focused on his mission. Suddenly, his fake father enters the room holding a stack of papers. The man says they are the files on the targets and that there are more than they expected. Looking closer, the number of documents is truly daunting. He also scolds him, telling him to fix his way of speaking, and the boy agrees. The young man seems a little annoyed by the scolding but says nothing. His fake father reminds him that he must act like someone who was born and raised here. The man stares at him closely and asks if he understood the order clearly. With a firm gaze, our hero simply replies yes without hesitation. The scene returns to the classroom, with Jian sitting in front of Liara. In his thoughts, he identifies her as the #1 priority target of the mission. Her file reveals that she is the daughter of the CEO of the Samjoang Group, the country's largest company. His objective is to get close to her to one day be able to extract the company's secrets. Era then asks the young man if he is always so quiet and reserved. With a smirk, the protagonist greets her in a relaxed manner. The girl then takes out her phone and shows it to our hero. Wasting no time, the girl asks for his Instagram so she can add him. The spy just observes her phone without any reaction. Seeing this, one of her friends jokes, asking if he's from North Korea. Era then asks for his phone to at least get his phone number. Not knowing what to say, the spy is completely frozen and silent. In a panic, he breaks into a cold sweat because his mission is at risk over a silly detail. One of Era's friends asks if he doesn't even have a cell phone by any chance. Our hero continues to sweat profusely, unable to think of a good excuse. Annoyed, the popular girl calls him a caveman for not having a device. Era looks at him with a disappointed expression and seems to lose interest in him. Turning her back on the young man, she simply walks away without another word. Another student in the class is so shocked he looks like he's turned into a statue. The class bullies start laughing in his face because of the situation. A classmate whispers that his parents must be very strict for him not to have a phone. The girls then walk away, leaving our protagonist alone at his desk. Angrily, the spy clenches his pants tightly, thinking about how he failed. The words cell phone and Instagram echo in his mind, driving him crazy. After classes end, we see a general view of the city and the elite school. The young man is totally overwhelmed by the culture of this new place. Alone, the young man walks along the sidewalk, thoughtful about the day's events. His pristine white sneakers stand out as he walks down the street. With a serious expression, he seems to be thinking of a plan to recover. Suddenly, he comes across a line of luxury cars waiting for the students. A classmate passes by him, and the spy realizes he's in a different world. Right after, a tall girl with long hair walks past him, looking somewhat thoughtful. With a serious expression, the young woman adjusts her hair and seems to be annoyed about something. The protagonist observes her attentively and identifies her as his priority zero target. Suddenly, a giant man in a suit places a hand on his shoulder, surprising him. The enormous bodyguard stands in front of the young man, casting a giant shadow over him. With a serious look, the big guy seems to be protecting someone very important. Our hero is not intimidated by his size and stares back with determination. A driver then calls the young woman to get into the luxury car, surrounded by security guards. The luxury vehicle then speeds off, taking the girl far away. The spy watches the scene next to Era, who also seems very surprised by the situation. Era also says goodbye and thanks her driver before getting into the blue car. Her car passes a black limousine while other expensive vehicles wait. Ara's vehicle also drives away, leaving the protagonist alone on the sidewalk. Alone, the young man stands thoughtfully, observing all the wealth around him. Suddenly, a hand covers his face, and someone tells him to stop blocking the way. It was the red-haired bully, who pushes him aside with a slap to the head. The redhead glares at him with contempt and asks what he is still doing standing there. Our protagonist just lowers his head and remains silent, not fighting back. With a smirk, the bully calls him annoying for his passive attitude. A giant security guard then appears, thanking the redhead for his hard work. The bully and his private security guard then leave in their yellow luxury car. Alone on the sidewalk, our protagonist stands in the middle of a crowd of silhouettes. With a serious and focused look, he seems to be analyzing the entire situation around him. Suddenly, a classmate with long bangs approaches him and says, "Excuse me." The young man reveals that his name is Jang Dong-woo and he has a super powerful family. The spy listens to everything attentively with a neutral expression on his face. Seeing that Jian is alone, the boy then offers him a ride. Our hero thinks about the proposal for a moment, hand on his chin, analyzing the situation. Awkwardly, Dong-woo says he doesn't have to if he's uncomfortable with the offer. The protagonist finally accepts the ride, and the boy gets super excited by the answer. Dong-woo's white car then pulls up, and he asks where the new kid lives. Jian replies that he lives in the Bampo Blue Tower as the vehicle speeds up. Inside the car, the boy praises the spy's house and introduces himself formally. He then asks the driver to stop at the tower and then head to the academy. The elderly driver seems a bit tired but agrees to follow the route. In the back seat, the two young men are silent for a moment. Dong-woo then tries to break the ice and calls our protagonist over to talk. Curious, he asks how Jian managed to solve that math problem. The spy turns his face to the side, looking a little surprised by the question. Awkward again, the boy apologizes and says he was just impressed with him. The classmate confesses that he's actually very weak at math and needs help. Our protagonist then offers to give the boy private lessons. Dong-woo gets super excited and asks if he's serious about it. With a smile from ear to ear, the boy celebrates the news, overjoyed. In his thoughts, the spy realizes that things are turning out better than expected. The boy then asks if it's true that he doesn't have Instagram or a cell phone. In another car, Era calls her driver and secretary Yang to talk. With a serious expression, the gray-haired man answers the call. The young woman says she wants to know more about the new student who transferred that day. The secretary asks if she wants the strategy department to investigate him. Era says no and that she just wants to know if he's someone she can hang out with. The secretary understands and promises to have the information ready by the evening. The heiress then becomes thoughtful, hand on her chin, looking out the car window. Back at the apartment, our protagonist opens the door to his home. His fake mother greets him with an apron and a super excited smile on her face. The young man is a little confused by the woman's warm welcome. She gently scolds him, saying he should greet her when he arrives. The fake father watches the scene from afar while reading a newspaper at the table. The young man is silent for a moment, not knowing how to react to the situation. Stuttering a little, he finally greets her, calling her mom. The fake mother congratulates him on a job well done as we see their fancy building. She then pushes him toward his room, and the boy asks why she's in such a hurry. With a smile, the woman says he'll know when he sees it and leads him to the door. The protagonist is surprised by her excitement. She seems very enthusiastic. Entering the room, he finds a new room fully furnished for him. On the desk, he finds a brand new laptop, tablet, and cell phone. In a corner of the room, we even see an electronic keyboard for him to play. Shocked, he asks if they can spend the operation funds like this, and the mother laughs. The woman says it's a necessary expense and that he shouldn't forget they are rich. Looking at the desk, the young man sees all the latest generation electronic devices. The young man stands in front of the laptop, unable to believe what he's seeing. With a slightly trembling hand, he finally picks up the new cell phone he received. Turning to his mother, he shows her the device and asks an unexpected question. The spy asks if she happens to know what Instagram is, calling her Mom. The woman is completely confused by the question and doesn't understand at all. The fake father, who is reading the newspaper, immediately notices the boy's blunder. With a smirk, the older man seems to have an idea in his head. He then stands up and confidently says he will teach the young man everything. The fake mother laughs at the situation, and our hero becomes super embarrassed and sweaty. Changing scenes, we see a girl sweating profusely as if she's been training hard. The scene now focuses on Era, who is running at night to stay in shape. Suddenly, the girl stops running and looks to the side as if she saw something. Her private secretary appears beside her, holding a folder with documents. Inside the folder, we see the file of our protagonist's fake father, Steve Kang. Looking at the man's photo, Era thinks about his name, a little intrigued. She reads that he is the CEO of a cryptocurrency company with a huge fortune. The heiress's eyes sparkle upon discovering how rich the new kid's father is. The secretary adds that the company has grown a lot and that China is interested. Ara then closes the folder with the information, still thinking about the young man. The man in the suit asks if she wants him to investigate even further. Handing back the folder, the girl says there's no need for more investigation. With a smile, she says the new kid seems decent enough to hang around with her. The next day at Seoul International School, the routine continues as normal. Back in the classroom, the students chat before the lesson begins. On our protagonist's desk, we see his new state-of-the-art cell phone. With a victorious smile, Jian faces the girls who laughed at him the day before. Across the room, Ara notices that the new kid now has a phone. Sitting at his desk, the spy crosses his arms with renewed confidence. His eyes shine with an air of superiority as he plans his next move. The glint in his eyes makes it clear that he is ready for revenge. Era continues to watch the new kid with curiosity after finding out about his family. The protagonist stares back at her with a serious and determined expression on his face. With a smirk, he shows off his new phone for everyone to see. The heiress gives a sideways smile, seeming to approve of the boy's new attitude. Dong-woo approaches him, all excited, and says that now he has a phone. Suddenly, the red-haired bully approaches the young man and grabs him by the collar. The bully is surprised and asks what's going on between the two of them. With a mocking smile, he asks if the two have already become friends. Awkwardly, Dong-woo confirms and says that Jian is going to help him with math lessons. Another bully in the class watches the scene with a disdainful expression. Our protagonist just stares at the bully in silence, showing no reaction. The raid-head then tells Dong-woo to study hard and lets him go abruptly. He adds that he now has some business to discuss with our hero. The bully places a hand on Dong-woo's head, telling him to get out of there. Dongwu obeys without question, and the group of bullies surrounds the protagonist. The redhead faces him with a confident smile, and our hero stares back. In his thoughts, Jian identifies the bully as Go Jin Seek, an important target. The spy continues to analyze his targets in silence and with great attention. Another target is Wang Wu, young, the son of a major sports industry entrepreneur. With a serious and calculating expression, the young man prepares for his next move. With an angelic smile, our hero offers to give the bullies math lessons. The two bullies are confused and don't understand the new kid's attitude. The redhead then orders his friend to make the young man less annoying. The other bully grabs him by the collar and calls him transfer student. Resting a hand on his shoulder, he says that the most important thing here is something else. Angrily, he tells the boy to know his place and not to stand out in class. Gripping the spy's clothes tightly, the bully asks if he understood the message. The protagonist stares back at him with a cold look and not a hint of fear. Despite the threat, our hero remains calm with his arms crossed. Suddenly, his eyes fill with anger, and he decides that's enough messing around. With a swift movement, he lands a precise blow to the bully's neck. The boy is left breathless and seems to be in a lot of pain from the surprise attack. The spy's hand relaxes, showing the precision and speed of his strike. Our protagonist looks at him with a cold and completely remorseless expression. With the bully still recovering, he asks again if the boy understood. Touching his shoulder, Jian asks what it means not to stand out in class. The bully is completely speechless and doesn't understand the new kid's question. Our hero then squeezes the boy's shoulder with impressive force. The grip is so strong that the fabric of the clothing begins to tear in his hand. Frightened and breaking into a cold sweat, the bully realizes he messed with the wrong person. With a quick move, he twists the bully's arm behind his back, immobilizing him. The boy is completely confused, not understanding what just happened. With a smile on his face, the spy asks if this is how you make friends here. Meanwhile, his hand continues to grip the bully's shoulder tightly. Across the room, the redhead stares at the scene with an angry expression. Annoyed, the aggressor tries to throw a punch, but the protagonist easily dodges it. Our hero's hair sways a little with the quick movement of the dodge. Furious, the bully shouts that the new kid must have a death wish for challenging him. He then prepares a powerful punch to hit our protagonist. Our hero just remains calm because he knew about the security camera on the ceiling. In a flashback, his fake father teaches him about the cameras everywhere. On several monitors, we see surveillance footage from all over the city. With just a click of the mouse, he can access any camera he wants. The classroom scene is then shown from the view of one of the cameras. The father then explains that this is the classroom he will be attending. With his hand on the mouse, the spy has total control of the situation. The gym camera shows the basketball court completely empty. Soon after, we see the teacher's lounge also being closely monitored. Even the music room with its piano doesn't escape the surveillance. Lastly, the school library is also watched by several cameras. The school soccer field is also shown from the view of one of the cameras. The fake father boasts that hacking a system like that is nothing. With a smile, he praises the boy, saying he knew he was the best hacker in the North. The older man scolds him again because of his way of speaking. He then tells the boy to fix it quickly, and the young man agrees to the order. The fake father warns him that he shouldn't use force because everything is being recorded. A drop of sweat runs down the boy's face as he seems to understand the gravity of the warning. Back in the present, the bully tries to land a direct punch on our protagonist. The spy stops the punch by holding the aggressor's hands down on the desk with great force. The impact of the block is so strong that the bully is thrown backward in pain. Our hero's hand shows the impressive strength he used to stop the blow. The aggressor loses his balance and falls backward, knocking over a glass of water. Furious, the bully calls him a jerk for daring to fight back. Our protagonist remains calm and just stares at him without showing any emotion. Suddenly, Air and her friends appear, shouting for them to stop the fight. Angrily, she asks if he's going to act so low in front of everyone. The Harris then says that the transfer student doesn't know the school rules yet. The redhead replies that if he doesn't know, then he needs to be educated on the rules. Annoyed, she shouts that's exactly why he has to stop and calls him pathetic. The bully gets angry but also seems embarrassed for being scolded by her. Angrily, the bully says he will talk to him separately later. With a smile, our hero asks if it will be just the two of them and when. The aggressor gets even more irritated by the taunt and clenches his teeth in anger. The boy then walks away and returns to his seat as the class watches. The redhead thinks that 4 stars means he's a recruitment target. Our protagonist then wonders what he should do to complete his mission. Suddenly, a blonde teacher enters the room, greeting everyone cheerfully. The spy continues to think about his target, Go Jin Seek, and how to approach him. The teacher notices the new kid and asks if he can keep up with the language class. Determined, our hero thinks that he'll find a way and that he doesn't need to worry. In English, he replies that he studied at an international school in New York. He completes the lie by saying he moved to Korea because of his father. Across the room, Dongwu is super happy and impressed with his friend. The teacher praises his pronunciation and encourages the class to talk with the boy. Our protagonist is very proud and has a smile of satisfaction on his face. Era watches him from a distance with an interested look and a small smirk. The spy then casts a victorious glance in the direction of the class bullies. The two aggressors are furious with the new kid's sudden popularity. The girls who mocked him now surround him, full of questions about New York. They ask why he didn't say anything before and seem a bit obsessed. One of the girls picks up his phone to get a closer look at the new device. The spy then willingly hands the phone to the girl for her to see. From across the room, the red-haired bully watches the scene with anger and jealousy. Ara takes the phone and approves, saying it's from her company with a smile. Our protagonist celebrates his success with a sparkle in his eyes and a smile. In his mind, he shouts that he succeeded in infiltrating and gaining their trust. Era then starts taking pictures with him and her friends having fun with the new kid. She accesses his Instagram and sees several photos of the family on trips around the world. One of the photos shows the group in front of the Eiffel Tower in Paris, France. Another image reveals a trip to a paradise-like place with palm trees and ruins. The last photo shows the family strolling down a busy street in Japan. With a smile, she comments that they seem to be a very harmonious family. Our protagonist's neck seems tense even though he's smiling on the outside. He then nods in confirmation with a serious and mission-focused expression. His fake father praises him, saying he really is the best computer specialist. Back in the present, the spy is standing on the sidewalk, observing the crowd. A strand of hair stands up on his head, showing his attention to detail. A line of luxury cars waits for the students at the exit of the elite school. In his thoughts, the fake father reminds him his way of speaking and scolds him. A long-haired classmate passes by him, and the boy watches her attentively. Era passes by him with a smirk and gives him a provocative look. She then says goodbye, telling him she'll see him tomorrow, and waves from a distance. The protagonist watches her walk away and thinks about how she is an important target. With a smug smile, he realizes the CEO's daughter is interested in him. His hand trembles a little with the excitement of his mission going well. The bully grabs him by the shoulder and says he must go with them right now. Our hero identifies Huang Wu Young as one of his recruitment targets. He also needs to recruit Go Jin, Seek, and the others to complete his mission. The bullies ask where they are going, and the spy looks at them thoughtfully. The aggressor then tells him to get in the car while he's asking nicely. Our protagonist realizes this is a recruitment opportunity for the mission. With a glint in his eyes, he sees the perfect chance to complete his objective. Decided, the spy walks toward the bully's luxury car. Suddenly, a red sports car appears at high speed on the street. The group of bullies is surprised and doesn't understand what is happening. The red car makes a sharp turn and stops right in front of them on the sidewalk. The luxury vehicle hits a lamppost, knocking it to the ground with the impact. The boys watch the scene, shocked by the car's sudden arrival. The convertible's roof opens, revealing the driver for everyone to see. It was our protagonist's fake father, who shouts that he came to pick up his son. The red car stops in front of the bullies, and the boy's father waves excitedly. The two aggressors are shocked by the scene and don't know how to react. Our protagonist is super embarrassed with a drop of sweat on his face. The fake father shouts that he's there to pick him up with a grin from ear to ear. Our hero then slowly walks toward his fake father's car. The spy gets in the car and the bullies watch the scene. Still surprised, the fake father celebrates, saying he made another friend, and asks about the car. With a sigh, the boy seems relieved to have an excuse to leave. He then confirms he's going with his friends and pulls the car's gear shift. Saying goodbye, he tells them he'll see them at home and speeds off in the car. The red sports car screeches its tires and leaves a cloud of smoke behind. The young spy sighs in relief, having escaped the tricky situation. He looks back and sees the tire marks the car left on the street. The redhead then comments that the new kid really needs some serious educating. The group of bullies gets into their yellow car and drives down the road. Inside the car, the redhead sits in the front seat with the security guard driving. Our hero watches them from a distance and wonders where they are going. The yellow car then stops in front of a huge and imposing building. The spy watches them from afar and remains silent, analyzing the situation. On the building's facade, we see the name of the sports company, TJ Sports. The redhead tells the others to go in first and that he'll be late. Our hero watches the scene from a distance with a serious and calculating expression. The security guard says that outside of school, he has orders not to leave his side. Our protagonist listens to the conversation with his secret listening device. The security guard seems determined to follow his boss's orders at all costs. The bully then enters the building alone, leaving the security guard behind. Inside the building, we see a huge fighting gym with an octagon in the center. Our protagonist and his new friend look at the place impressed. A man approaches them and asks if they have cleaned the third cage. With a smile, the man confirms that yes, everything is ready for them. The bully then orders them not to let anyone else into the gym. The man then tells our hero to apologize and that he'll call an ambulance. Our protagonist is confused and asks why he would need an ambulance. The bully angrily shouts for him to hurry up and get to the octagon. Our hero just stares at him in silence with a serious expression on his face. The group then heads to the center of the gym towards the octagon. The bully rips off his shirt, revealing a muscular and well-trained physique. He then puts on his fighting gloves, preparing for the brawl to come. Our protagonist just watches the scene calmly without showing any fear. The redhead comments from above that it's been a while since someone entered here with that expression. Our protagonist asks if he is supposed to fight that muscular friend. The redhead starts laughing loudly and says it doesn't matter if it's a fight or something else. The spy just stares at him in silence with a serious and focused expression. With a wicked smile, the redhead tells him to hurry up and sign the paper. The bully points to a document on the table, and the protagonist wonders what it is. Our hero watches the scene from above, and the redhead seems to be having a lot of fun. The document is a consent form for the fight with no liability. The text says that no one will be held responsible for any physical or criminal damages. The spy's eyes move quickly, reading every word of the contract. He remains calm and analyzes the situation before making a decision. The young man then asks if the bully wants him to sign the liability waiver. With a mocking smile, the redhead asks if he happens to be scared. Our protagonist turns his face to the side, looking a little thoughtful. The bully says if he kneels and barks like a dog, he'll leave him alone. With a cold expression, the spy remains silent, showing no reaction. The redhead wonders why he isn't reacting and calls him weird for his attitude. The young man then asks if this place has surveillance cameras recording. The bully continues to stare at him, not understanding the question or its purpose. The muscular aggressor also gets confused and doesn't know what to answer him. Our hero asks if they really need to fight and signs the contract. The The redhead says that his friend easily defeats Korean champions. The fighter gets ready and warns that if he gets beat up, he'll be in big trouble. He then hands the sign form to his opponent, who looks at him seriously. Our hero then hands over the contract and tells him to write his name too. With a firm gaze, the spy tells him to hurry up and sign the paper. The fighter stretches with a confident smile on his face, not worried at all. The protagonist then prepares for the fight, putting on his blue gloves. With a serious and focused expression, he faces his opponent in the octagon. The aggressor taunts him, saying his expression shows he's frozen. With a wicked smile, he seems completely underestimate our hero. Inside the ring, the two face each other, ready to start the fight. Our protagonist wonders what he should do with this strong opponent. With a precise blow, he hits the fighter's chin, catching him by surprise. The bully is shocked by the force of the punch, and the spy declares that he's out. A red X marks the fighter's face, indicating he has been defeated. The aggressor tries to attack, but our hero dodges and counterattacks with precision. He lands a powerful blow to the bully's stomach, leaving him breathless. The fighter spits out a red liquid, and the spy declares that he's out too. A red X marks the second fighter's face, indicating his defeat. Our hero makes an X sign in front of the opponent and says it was too easy. He then lands a knee strike to the fighter's stomach, making him double over in pain. With a powerful punch, he hits the bully's face, knocking him to the ground. The fighter screams in pain as he is completely dominated by our hero. He then lands a kick to the opponent's leg, throwing him off balance for good. Our protagonist wonders how he should educate this spoiled brat. The fighter attempts a punch, but the spy looks at him with a cold, calculating gaze. He catches the opponent's fist with ease and looks him in the eye. The aggressor tries a kick, but our hero dodges it with an agile move. The bully's glove glows, showing the force he put into the blow. Our protagonist remains calm with a serious and focused expression. He then dodges another of the bully's punches with great ease and precision. The fighter is shocked by the new kid's skill and his incredible speed. Our hero looks at him with an air of superiority, showing who's in control. The security guard and the redhead watch the fight from above, shocked by what they're seeing. The red-haired bully is dumbfounded by the transfer student's performance. The spy stomps hard on the ground, preparing for his next move. Inside the octagon, the fighter warms up and prepares to attack again. He asks if the boy has ever played any sports before coming to the school. Our protagonist just stares at him in silence, not answering the question. Annoyed, the fighter calls him a scoundrel and asks if he's mute. The spy's eyes gleam with a cold and calculating determination. With a confident smile, he seems to be enjoying the fight. The fighter gets irritated by his expression and charges at him with everything he's got. He tries to land a powerful punch, but our hero is faster than him. With a slap, he deflects the blow and hits the bully's face with precision. The aggressor is shocked by the force and speed of the counterattack. Our protagonist's blue glove shows the technique he used for the blow. The redhead and the security guard watch the scene from above, completely shocked by the result. Furious, the fighter trembles with rage and calls him a wretch for humiliating him. Our hero then prepares for the next attack with a serious expression. The aggressor yells that he's begging to be taken down for challenging him like that. With a precise punch to the face, the spy hits the bully square on. The fighter doubles over in pain, and our hero looks at him without showing any mercy. Our protagonist remains calm, and the fighter seems to be at his limit. With eyes full of rage, the aggressor yells with all his might. The spy then blocks the bully's attack with an open hand to the face. With a final blow, he hits the fighter's chin with devastating force. The impact of the punch is so strong that the bully's face contorts in pain. The aggressor is thrown backward and falls to the octagon floor with a dull thud. The fighter lies on the ground, completely defeated and out of commission. The redhead and his security guard are speechless at the fighter's humiliating defeat. Our hero says there shouldn't be any problem since he went easy in the fight. He then says that if there's nothing else to see, he's leaving. Our protagonist turns to leave, but the redhead stops him with a shout. The security guard comes down the stairs and stops in front of the spy, staring at him. The red-haired bully also comes down and runs toward our protagonist. With an excited smile, he declares that from now on, he is his right-hand man. Our hero is confused by the proposal and asks what that means. The redhead asks the security guard if the new kid isn't really strong. The spy still doesn't understand the proposal and what it means to be a right-hand man. The bully says it's a good thing to be his right-hand man and that he should accept. He then asks if the boy knows who his father is to intimidate him. Our protagonist just looks at him with an expression of disinterest. The redhead hugs him and invites him to dinner at a fancy place to celebrate. Our hero is awkward with the closeness, but the bully is super excited. In his thoughts, the spy realizes that everything is going according to plan. Back at home, his fake mother greets him and asks if he has arrived. She then asks if he managed to make friends at the new school. With a smile, the mother asks about dinner, and the boy seems tired. He says he already ate with a friend and is going to rest for the day. The fake mother is a little worried, but the father seems to understand the situation. In his room, the boy throws himself on the bed, completely exhausted from the long day. With a sigh, he seems relieved to have made progress in his mission. With his hand on his forehead, he thinks that this mission is really not easy at all. In a flashback to the dinner, the redhead asks if he liked the fancy restaurant. Our hero cuts a piece of juicy, well-seasoned meat on his plate. The bully encourages him to eat a lot, because the food there is top-notch. The spy then brings the piece of meat to his mouth to taste it. With wide eyes, he is shocked by how delicious the meat is. The redhead starts laughing loudly at our protagonist's surprised expression. Our hero wonders if this guy is the same person who threatened him before. The bully looks at him with a confident smile and seems to have changed his attitude. He says being his right-hand man is no big deal and that it's quite simple. Our protagonist listens attentively while enjoying the food. The redhead explains that he just needs to step on the guys who try to move up in life. Our hero continues eating and says he doesn't like to hit weak people. The bully says that the weak ones don't even try to get close to him anyway. Our protagonist then asks about Dongwu, and the redhead is confused. With a piece of meat in his mouth, the spy confirms he's talking about Dongwu. The redhead starts laughing loudly and asks if he thinks Dongwu is weak. The redhead reveals that in middle school, he was Dongwu's Iran boy. He then calls him a loser for not knowing what Iran boy is. With a sigh, he explains that Dongwu's family is the most powerful in the country. He says that before his father was the party leader, he was forced to obey him. Our protagonist listens to the story, shocked by the bully's revelation. The redhead says that in Korea, the parent's power becomes the children's strength. Back in the present, our hero thinks once again that the mission is not easy. The difficulty of the mission leaves him exhausted and with a tired expression. Suddenly, he hears a knock on his bedroom door and gets up. His fake parents peek through the door with a worried expression on their faces. Our protagonist is surprised by the unexpected visit from the two agents. They ask what happened and if he is facing any difficulties. The boy says it's nothing and that everything is fine with him and the mission. His fake parents watch him with an expression of concern and suspicion. Sitting on the bed, he lowers his head and seems thoughtful and dejected. A strand of hair stands up, showing that he is aware of everything around him. He thinks that South Korean society is very complicated and different from what he learned. His fake parents watch him from a distance and comment that it's not easy to adapt. Our protagonist clenches his hands tightly, showing his frustration. The fake mother then scolds him, telling him not to talk like a weakling. The fake father asks if he has forgotten who he really is in his mission. Our protagonist is shocked by the question and seems to remember his purpose. He then faces his fake father with a serious and renewed expression. Getting up, he apologizes and promises it won't happen again. His fake parents give a smile of approval at the boy's change in attitude. With a determined look, our hero seems to be focused on the mission again. In his room, he spends the night studying the local culture on his laptop. He researches slang, fashion, and everything he needs to know to infiltrate. With a serious expression, he remembers that he is an elite agent and cannot fail. His fake parents watch him from the door with a proud smile on their faces. The next day at school, our hero is sitting at his desk, deep in thought. Dongwu approaches him with a worried and fearful expression on his face. He asks if nothing happened the day before and seems very scared. Our protagonist wonders if it's true that he is a gang leader. He then turns to Dongwu and asks if he was a gang leader in middle school. The spy reveals that Go Jin-sik told him he was his Iran boy. Dongwu is terrified and says he was very young and didn't know anything. Our hero comforts him and tells him not to worry because he doesn't do those things. With a smile, he says the two of them are friends now and points to himself. Dongwu is relieved by the answer but still seems a little suspicious. In his thoughts, the spy celebrates for having acted naturally. The silhouette of a girl approaches, and the boy seems to be waiting for her. Dongwu approaches the red-haired bully, who glares at him with contempt. With a sigh of relief, he says he's glad nothing happened. Our protagonist tells him not to worry and that everything is fine. With a smile, he adds that they will all be real friends now. Suddenly, the redhead calls him, and the spy turns to see what he wants. The bully stares at him with a serious expression, sitting at his desk. With a fake smile, our hero asks if he got home safely. The redhead glares at him with a look of contempt, not answering the question. The girls in the class watch the scene, shocked by the interaction between the two. Dongwu is also surprised with a drop of sweat on his face. The other classmates also watch the scene with great curiosity. Our protagonist approaches the redhead and says he'll pay for dinner next time. The bully then calls him over to sit next to him in the empty desk. Our hero realizes that seat belongs to the other bully, Huang Wu, Young. The redhead asks why he isn't sitting down yet and looks at him with a smile. Our protagonist remains silent with a serious expression on his face. In his thoughts, he realizes that the gang's hierarchy is changing. With a glint in his eyes, he celebrates becoming the number 2 in the class. With his arms crossed, he sits in the new seat with an air of superiority. The class watches the scene, shocked by the new power dynamic in the room. With a wicked smile, our hero celebrates that things are going well. The teacher is lecturing the class while the students pay attention. Suddenly, an elderly teacher with cockroach antennae appears in the room. The students continue to pay attention to the class, not noticing the strange figure. Our protagonist and the redhead notice that the other bully missed class. The scene changes back to the TJ Sports Company building. Inside the gym, we see several flags from different countries hanging. The boxing ring is empty, and the place seems to be closed to the public. The bully Huang Wu Young is kneeling on the floor, trembling with fear. A man with a ponytail hits him hard on the back with a stick. The boy falls to the floor in great pain from the harsh blow he received. The aggressor scolds him and asks if he can't do a simple task. Angrily, the man asks how much money he spent to put him in that school. The man is revealed to be the president of the Taejong Group, Huang Jae-cheol. A secretary asks him to stop, but the president seems out of control. He says the redhead's family will have the next president and that he needs to get close. Furious, the father tells his son to stay close to the boy and to butter him up if necessary. He then tells him to get lost because he can't stand to look at his face anymore. The bully gets up from the floor with an expression of anger and humiliation. The secretary watches the boy walk away and asks if he has already investigated. With a serious expression, the secretary seems to be waiting for an answer. The president asks what kind of family the transfer student has. The secretary reveals that he owns a multinational cryptocurrency company. With a thoughtful expression, the secretary says their capital is very solid. The president then orders him to invite them to dinner with him. The secretary asks where the dinner should take place, and the president smiles. With a wicked look, he says the dinner will be in that very gym. The secretary looks at him with an expression of surprise and concern. With a bow, he says he understood the order and will arrange everything. The president then grumbles about some nobody with no past meddling in his business. In a flashback, Era says goodbye to our protagonist and says she'll see him tomorrow. She then thanks him for his hard work and gets in her luxury car. The redhead security guard stares at him with a serious expression and watches him. With a concerned look, he tells the boy to take good care of his parents. Our protagonist is confused by the comment and doesn't understand the reference. The redhead then says goodbye and says he'll see him tomorrow with a smile on his face. He then gets into his yellow car with a security guard accompanying him. Our protagonist just watches the scene in silence with a serious expression. The fake father's red car stops in front of our protagonist on the street. With an excited smile, he calls him to get in the car and go home. The spy takes a deep breath and seems a little tired of all the acting. Back at the apartment, the family dines together in a relaxed atmosphere. The fake father laughs loudly while our hero eats with a serious expression. The fake mother yawns from sleepiness and seems very tired from the day's work. Suddenly, the doorbell rings and the family wonders who it could be. With their mouths full, our protagonist and his fake parents look at the door. The apartment door opens, revealing the unexpected visitor who has arrived. A man in a suit and glasses introduces himself and says good evening to the family. He reveals himself to be a secretary from the Taejong group and seems very serious. The family greets him and asks what brings him there at this hour. Our protagonist thinks of the group's name and associates it with the school bully. The secretary then reveals that the group's young master was assaulted by their son. The family is shocked by the accusation and turns to face the boy. The secretary stares at them with a cold expression and seems to be telling the truth. Our hero is terrified by the accusation and doesn't know how to defend himself. The man in the suit repeats that the young master was assaulted by their son. The family is in shock and speechless upon hearing the secretary's serious accusation. The fake parents look at the boy with an expression of surprise and concern. Our protagonist remains in a panic over the accusation, sweating profusely. The secretary says the president doesn't want to escalate the problem and suggests a dinner. The fake father laughs and says it's just kids having a little disagreement. The secretary asks if they have time to go to the meeting right now. The fake father agrees and gets up to accompany the secretary to the exit. A drop of sweat runs down the boy's face as he worries about his father. He approaches the door to go along, but his father stops him from leaving. With a serious expression, the older man tells him to stay home and wait. The fake mother and our hero watch the father leave with the secretary, worried. The boy peeks through the door and sees his father walking away down the dark hallway. The scene changes to the TJ Sports building under a starry night. The secretary guides the fake father through the corridors of the fighting gym. He leads him to the center of the gym, where the octagon is set up. The group's president is sitting on the cage's railing, waiting for them. The two stare at each other with serious expressions, and the atmosphere becomes very tense. The president says his son got beaten up badly by our hero's kid. The fake father just stares at him in silence without saying a single word. The president asks what he is going to do about the situation. With a smile, the fake father asks what he would like to be done. The president then tells him to transfer his son to another school and forget everything. The fake father laughs and says that would be difficult because his mother insisted on the school. The president sighs and seems to be losing his patience with the situation. He then approaches the fake father with an angry expression on his face. The muscular man threatens him, telling him to listen while he's being nice. With a look of disgust, the president seems ready for a confrontation. The fake father warns him not to create something they will both regret. Suddenly, the fake father headbutts the president, catching him by surprise. With a serious expression, he seems ready to fight for his son. The president is shocked by the attack and angrily calls him a wretch. The fake father lunges at the president, and the fight begins in the gym. With a precise blow, the president hits the fake father's back hard. The man falls to the floor from the impact and seems to be in great pain from the blow. Coughing on the floor, he seems to be recovering from the harsh attack. The president grabs him by the hair forcefully and glares at him with hatred in his eyes. With a bruised face, the fake father clenches his teeth in pain and anger. The president orders him to transfer his son immediately and threatens him. He throws him to the ground forcefully and looks at him with an expression of superiority. The fake father stays on the ground with his head down and a look of humiliation. The president then orders the secretary to give him money for medical expenses. The scene changes to a fancy building with a luxury car parked in front. The secretary offers a check for 10 million won to the fake father. He says the money is to cover the medical expenses from the fight. The fake father stares at him with a serious and contemptuous expression. The secretary asks if the money isn't enough for him, by any chance. He then warns that reporting it to the police won't do any good. With a smile, the secretary says they generously sponsor the police. The fake father looks at him and says none of that will be necessary. Angrily, he takes the check from the secretary's hand and rips it to pieces. The secretary watches the car drive away, and the fake father remains silent. Inside the car, the secretary grumbles and seems irritated by the situation. Back at the apartment, the fake father enters, and the son calls him comrade. With a bruised face, the older man looks at the boy with a serious expression. The protagonist is shocked to see the injuries on his fake father's face. Worried, he asks if the man is okay, and the fake father calms him down. The fake mother watches the scene from a distance with sunglasses and a serious expression. With a look of anger, she seems ready for revenge. The fake father then sits at the computer and starts typing furiously. He shouts that he will show them who they really messed with. With an expression of hatred, the man seems to be planning his revenge. The scene ends with a view of the TJ Sports building under a blue sky. Classical music plays in the office of the TJ Sports president. The businessman enjoys the music while having a cup of coffee. He takes a sip of the hot beverage and seems very relaxed and satisfied. With a sigh of pleasure, the president enjoys the moment of peace and quiet. Suddenly, the secretary bursts into the room, shouting that they have a big problem. Annoyed, the president scolds him for not knocking and for making so much noise. Terrified, the secretary reveals that the company's servers are all down. He adds that even the IT team's computers have crashed. The president is shocked and receives news that refund requests are flooding in. The phone on his desk starts ringing nonstop, increasing the tension. The president presses a button to answer the call and hear the news. An employee shouts from the other end of the line that they have a big problem. Annoyed, he asks what happened, and the employee reveals the bad news. Shocked, the president's eyes widen and he breaks into a cold sweat. The scene changes to a full moon night with a clear, starry sky. In his office, the president is sitting alone and seems exhausted. With his hands on his face, he seems desperate and doesn't know what to do. The darkness of the room reflects the businessman's grim state of mind. He picks up the phone and asks if there's any sign the problem will be solved. With a worried expression, he asks what the bank said about the situation. Suddenly, a woman in black appears in the office and stares at him seriously. The president asks who she is and what the security guards are doing. With a smile, she says she put everyone to sleep and that the cameras are off. We see the security guards passed out on the sofas in the company's reception area. The office employees are also out cold in their work chairs. Annoyed, the president calls her crazy and says he's already stressed enough. The woman hits him with a quick and precise blow to the neck, immobilizing him. With a powerful kick, she throws him against the desk, knocking him down hard. Lying on the floor, the president asks if she knows who she's messing with. The woman looks down at him with a cold expression and not a hint of fear. The president is terrified, and the woman says she would normally eliminate him. She then takes out a syringe with a mysterious liquid inside. With a wicked smile, she tells him to thank someone else for the mercy. The man is terrified, and the woman says she promised not to eliminate anyone anymore. She then gives the injection in the president's neck, and he screams in pain. The woman says she will wake him up in 3 years when his son graduates. The president's eyes widen in fear before he passes out completely. Back at the apartment, the family is busy with household chores. Our protagonist says goodbye and that he's heading to school. With a serious expression, he seems ready for another day of his mission. The fake father appears with his face full of bandages and looks quite down. The fake mother says goodbye to him with a smile and wishes him a good day at school. Our protagonist apologizes, saying everything was because of him. The mother comforts him and says they solved everything and for him not to worry. The boy is confused and doesn't understand how they solved the problem so quickly. The scene changes to the Seoul International School with its imposing structure. In the classroom, students are talking, and Era approaches our hero. She and her friends surround him and seem curious about something. Era looks at him with a serious expression and seems to be thinking about something. She then gives a sideways smile and seems to have made an important decision. Our protagonist watches the scene with a smirk and his arms crossed. He thinks that in South Korea, parents meddle in everything all the time. The redhead approaches him and asks if he's heard the latest news. He reveals that Woo, Young's father, collapsed and that the company is in crisis. Our hero is shocked by the news and can't believe what he heard. The redhead asks if it was a stroke or a heart attack, and our hero remains silent. He then remembers his mother's words and starts connecting the dots. Our protagonist wonders if his fake parents have something to do with this. Era calls him, and the boy turns to see what the Harris wants with him. With a smile, she asks what he's doing over the weekend. The redhead suggests they invite our hero to Era's birthday party. With a disdainful expression, the bully seems to have changed his mind about the new kid. Our protagonist is surprised by the invitation and asks if it's a birthday party. Era confirms that it is and asks if he will attend her special event. With a smile, he confirms his attendance, and the Harris says she'll send the location. The class watches the scene, and the redhead stares at the new kid with a serious expression. The girls whisper among themselves and seem excited about the birthday party. Suddenly, the other bully enters the room and walks toward his seat. With a drop of sweat on his face, he seems to be feeling very unwell. Dong-woo and the redhead watch their classmate arrive with a worried expression. A girl approaches and asks if his father is okay, and the boy remains silent. He then sits in his seat without saying a single word to anyone. Our hero watches the scene, and the redhead seems to be worried about his friend. The bully looks very dejected and has a sad expression on his face. With a serious expression, the spy continues to watch the situation from a distance. After class, he waits at the bus stop alone, thoughtful about the events. He looks at the school and seems to be reflecting on his complicated mission. Our hero remembers his injured fake father and feels a little guilty. Suddenly, a group of classmates approaches him and asks him to leave with them. He turns around and sees Dong-woo and the girls waving at him. A group of classmates approaches him with a curious expression. One of the girls asks if he's going home alone that day. Our protagonist wonders if they're his classmates and nods his head. The girl then invites him to go home with them by bus. With an awkward smile, he says he doesn't mind going with them. The girl introduces herself as Shin Yune and introduces her friends to him. She says they also wanted to be friends with him and greets him excitedly. Our hero is surprised by the reception and says it's a pleasure to meet them. She then asks which area his house is in, and he answers without hesitation. The group is shocked to learn that he lives in the most expensive apartment in the area. Our protagonist is confused by the classmates' exaggerated reaction. He explains that the place belongs to his parents, and they remain impressed. The girl says their academy is in the same area and they can take the same bus. She then invites him to a tteokbokki place near the academy. He is confused by the name of the food, and his friend says it's irresistible. The girl says it's delicious and that he can look forward to a good meal. The scene changes to the facade of a simple Korean food restaurant. Inside the place, we see several students eating and chatting excitedly. The table is full of delicious dishes, and they give thanks for the meal. The girl says the tteokbokki there is the best, and her friends agree. Our protagonist eats with his cheeks full, and the girl stares at him in surprise. She notices he's eating in a strange way and observes him. The girl then asks if this is the first time he's ever eaten tteokbokki in his life. Awkwardly, he quickly denies it and tries to hide his inexperience. With wide eyes, he feels the spicy taste of the food for the first time. Suddenly, he breathes fire from his mouth, leaving his new friends shocked. The girls laugh at his reaction, and one of them offers him some juice. Our hero sticks his tongue out, and his friend laughs loudly at the situation. The group is fun with the scene, and the atmosphere becomes very relaxed. He takes a glass of a drink and thanks his new friends for their help. One of the girls says she was surprised, because she thought he wouldn't get along with them. She explains that he quickly fit in with the group of bullies in the class. The friend says they are also in the special class, but are different from the others. Our hero is confused and asks them to explain in a simpler way. The girl looks down and seems a little embarrassed by the topic. She says they feel a little inferior next to Era's and the redhead's friends. The friend boasts that Yuna has never lost first place in the school. Yuna explains that the others go to foreign universities anyway. Our protagonist listens to everything attentively and seems to be analyzing the situation. In his thoughts, he realizes that these kids are ordinary students. Suddenly, a boy asks what is going on in that restaurant. A group of bullies from another school appears and glares at them with contempt. Our protagonist stares back at them with a serious and confused expression. The group leader asks why those rich kids are causing trouble. He complains that there's no more space in the shop because of them. The girls get scared by the arrival of the bullies and lower their heads. With a smirk, our hero seems ready for a fight. The bully shouts that when someone asks a question, they should answer. Our protagonist glares at him with an expression of anger and contempt. Our hero's friend stands up scared and tells them to leave. Our protagonist watches the scene with a calm and calculating expression. He then gets up from his chair and prepares to face the bullies. The group leader stops him and asks if they are leaving just like that. The friend tries to explain that they have already finished eating and will give up their spot. With a wicked smile, the bully says they can't leave like that. Our hero just stares at him in silence with a serious expression. The aggressor then tells them to buy food for them since they are rich. Our hero's friend is terrified by the bully's demand. The aggressor grabs him by the collar forcefully and glares at him with hatred. Our protagonist then grabs the bully's hand, stopping him from continuing. With a serious expression, our hero asks if they happen to be beggars. The leader of the bullies is confused and doesn't understand the boy's question. The two groups face off in the middle of the restaurant, and the atmosphere becomes tense. One of the aggressors says he thought only nerds studied at that school. Our protagonist stares back at him with a cold and defiant expression. His eyes narrow and he seems ready for anything. With a smirk, he says that they usually give their allowance with a scare. Our hero corrects them, saying they aren't beggars but thieves. The group leader gets angry and glares at him with eyes full of hatred. He then tells the boy not to act tough and to pay their bill. With a wicked smile, he says that way they can go to the gym in peace. Our hero's friends are terrified by the bully's threat. The group leader says that since he spoke that way, they can't leave. He then suggests they go outside to talk and settle things. Suddenly, Yuna stands up and offers a 50,000 won note to pay. She says they will pay the bill, and that the new kid doesn't know how things are. The bully laughs at the situation and says he was acting all cool before. Our protagonist then holds the girl's hand, stopping her from paying. He tells her not to worry and that nothing bad will happen. Confidently, he boasts that his family is rich and lives on the royal floor. The bullies stare at our protagonist with a surprised expression. His friends are terrified, with a drop of sweat on their faces. He then throws a wad of cash in the bullies' faces with contempt. With a smirk, he asks if that is enough for them. He asks if they are now in the mood to talk to him. The group leader glares at him with an expression of hatred and humiliation. The scene changes to a dirty alley behind the restaurant with the two groups. Our protagonist says there are no surveillance cameras here to record. The group leader wonders why that scoundrel is so confident. He then laughs and says it doesn't matter since they are offering money. Our hero watches his terrified friends with a serious expression. His eyes meet those of the group leader, and the atmosphere becomes tense. Suddenly, the spy and his friends charge at the bullies with everything they've got. He says they need to be careful because his classmates are there. The group leader asks if they know who they are to challenge them. He reveals himself as a member of the physical education school's boxing team. Angrily, he charges at our protagonist with a powerful punch. The bully is shocked to see that the new kid managed to dodge his blow. Our hero is surprised to discover that the boy is a trained athlete. His friends watch the scene, terrified of the fight that is about to begin. Furious, the aggressor shouts that he's going to finish this jerk and charges. However, our hero is faster and lands a direct punch to the bully's chin. With a precise blow, the spy hits the aggressor's face squarely, knocking him down. The group leader falls to the ground, completely knocked out with just one punch. His friends stare at him on the ground, shocked by our protagonist's strength. One of the bullies is stunned and wonders how he defeated him with a single blow. Annoyed, the other aggressors surround our hero while his friends watch in terror. Yelling for him to stay still, the group prepares to attack the boy all at once. Our protagonist just stares at them, confused, not understanding what's happening. Suddenly, the leader gets up and asks if he happens to know Wu Young. Our hero thinks for a moment and remembers the bully Huang Wu Young from his class. The aggressor confirms they are from the same group and asks if Wu Young didn't educate him. With a smile, he demands a tribute of 500,000 won per month from our hero. He says if the boy pays, they won't bother the students from his school anymore. Our protagonist thinks that this guy is the worst kind of trash in the world. The bully smiles confidently and seems to be waiting for our hero's response. Spy just watches him in silence, analyzing the proposal and the whole situation. Aggressor tells him to think about it while he takes a beating and prepares to fight. His friends also get into a fighting stance, ready to attack our hero. Terrified, the spy's friends watch the scene, afraid of what will happen. Our hero moves quickly among his terrified friends. With a serious expression, he prepares to end this fight for good. The group leader gets up with a wicked smile and charges again. However, the spy hits him with a precise kick, knocking him to the ground again. Aggressor is shocked at how easily he was defeated by the new student. His friends watch the scene, terrified, not knowing what to do in this situation. The girl, Yuna, peeks through her fingers, shocked by her friend's skill. A drop of sweat runs down her face as she sees the boy's impressive strength. The bully tries a high kick, but our hero blocks it with great ease. Surprised, the aggressor can't believe his attack was stopped like that. Our protagonist just stares at him in silence with a cold and calculating expression. With clenched teeth, the bully curses the boy for being so skilled in fighting. He yells that the new kid needs a lesson, but our hero just watches him. Suddenly, a security guard appears, shouting and asking what they are doing. Both groups freeze at the unexpected arrival of the guard in the alley. Annoyed by the interruption, the aggressor clicks his tongue and looks very frustrated. Without a second thought, the leader yells for his friends to run and get out of there. Security guard runs after the bullies while our hero watches the confusion. With the aggressors on the run, he finally turns to see how his friends are doing. The guard continues to chase the delinquents, who flee at high speed down the alley. Our hero then takes his new cell phone out of his pocket with a determined expression. With a swift movement, he throws the device with all his strength toward the bully. The cell phone flies through the air and hits the fleeing aggressor squarely on the head. The boy falls to the ground from the impact, and all the money he stole scatters. With a hand on his head, the bully screams in pain as he writhes on the alley floor. Security guard finally catches up to him, and our hero and his friends are caught in the mess. Spy then points to the others and tells the guards to go after them too. The scene then changes to the police station where everyone was taken. In a room, our hero and the leader of the bullies stare at each other in silence. The two look at each other with a serious expression, and the mood between them is very heavy. Meanwhile, the spy's friends are interrogated and say they weren't fighting. Yoon explains that the other boys kept asking them for money. Police officer turns to the aggressor and asks if he really did that. Angrily, the officer scolds him, saying that extortion is a very serious crime. The bully defends himself, saying he only asked to borrow money to eat. He even lies, saying the others didn't even lend him the money. Our hero's friends are shocked by the lie and tremble with anger. The officer gets annoyed, and Yuna shouts that they're the real victims here. The bully retorts that his friend got beat up by our hero, and they are not victims. Yuna then shouts that it was their fault for surrounding Jian first. Annoyed, the officer slams his clipboard and tells everyone in the room to be quiet. The leader of the aggressors lowers his head and clicks his tongue in anger at the situation. Our hero's friends fall silent, afraid of the police officer's threat. Sitting in the chair, the spy remains silent, thinking about the whole mess. In his thoughts, the young man realizes the situation is getting very complicated. Suddenly, a man in a tracksuit arrives and says he heard his student was there. The bully gets up from his chair, startled by the man's unexpected arrival. Terrified, the aggressor stutters and calls him teacher, not believing what he sees. Teacher glares at the police officer with a serious and slightly annoyed expression. The man apologizes and introduces himself as the teacher of that delinquent there. With a concerned look, he asks if his student committed any serious crime. Police officer says it was nothing major and there are no serious victims in the case. Teacher bows and promises to educate him, while the officer reveals himself to be a fan. The bully is terrified to see his teacher approaching with great anger. With a quick move, the man grabs his student's ear with great force. He then scolds him for fighting with civilians before his important debut match. With a look of contempt, the teacher seems very disappointed in his student. Our protagonist just watches the whole scene in silence and with great attention. The teacher glares at the student with an expression of anger and total disappointment. The spy continues to watch the scene with a cold and very calculating gaze. The teacher then drags the student out, and the bully complains that he can walk on his own. Our protagonist watches the scene with a calm and slightly curious look. The police officer advises that the others can leave as soon as their parents arrive. Outside, the young man waits as a red sports car pulls up in front. With his head down, the spy looks very disappointed with the whole situation. From inside the car, his fake father calls to him with a smile and sunglasses on. Back at home, the older man scolds him and asks if he knows what he's done. The young man apologizes, and his mother asks if he was intimidating his friends. The fake father says that was unacceptable and that he should have resolved things beforehand. He then reminds him that South Korea is an information society and everything is recorded. With a guilty expression, the young man apologizes once more for what happened. His fake mother then gently holds his hand to try and calm him down a bit. With a smile, she comforts him and tells him not to be sad because everything turned out fine in the end. With his hands behind his head, the young man says that South Korea is very complicated to understand. His fake mother watches him with a worried and slightly sad expression on her face. The fake father then asks if he's going to keep acting in such a foolish and reckless way. Our protagonist clenches his fist tightly, showing his determination and focus. Standing up, he shouts that this kind of thing will never happen again. With his fingers on the keyboard, the young man starts researching the topic online. He searches for information on police stations and how to deal with extortion and trouble at school. The boy's expression shows his newfound determination to handle his problems. The next day, a blue bus drives down the street near the boy's school. Our protagonist waits alone at the bus stop with a serious expression. He told his fake parents he would take the bus, and they didn't need to pick him up anymore. Suddenly, Dongwu appears and is surprised to see his friend waiting there. He then approaches and starts talking to our hero at the bus stop. The spy stares back at him with a serious expression without saying a word. His expression shows that he isn't very happy about the unexpected conversation. Dongwu is startled by our protagonist's suddenly cold attitude. His friend then runs off, leaving the two of them alone at the stop. Our hero then asks if the boy knows those guys who are bothering him. The classmate says it's nothing he needs to worry about and looks away. Seeing that the spy is walking away, his friend calls his name to stop him. With a serious expression, the young man turns to face his classmate. Suddenly, his other friends appear and greet him with smiles on their faces. Right after, a yellow luxury car pulls up right in front of the group of friends. The group of students is surprised by the arrival of the super fancy vehicle. The car door opens and the red-haired bully gets out, stomping his foot hard on the ground. The aggressor and his private security guard get out of the car and stare at our hero. With a look of contempt, the redhead stares at the protagonist in a very challenging way. In the classroom, the protagonist enters and greets his new friends with a wave. Sitting in the back, the red-haired bully watches the whole scene with a look of disdain. He then asks why our hero is hanging out with that bunch of losers. The spy replies confused that they are just classmates and he doesn't see a problem. The redhead says that friends should have the same social status so as not to bring others down. Meanwhile, the other classmates are talking and laughing, unaware of the tense discussion. Our protagonist thinks this is all a bunch of nonsense and gets very irritated. The bully tells him to act in a way that doesn't annoy him and asks if he got the message. Now seated, the two remain silent, and the atmosphere in the room becomes heavy. The redhead closes his eyes with a calm expression but is clearly feeling superior. With a strand of hair sticking up, the spy glares at him from the side, still annoyed by the conversation. Suddenly, both of their phones buzz at the same time, leaving them very surprised. They both grab their phones and see a message notification from the same person. The message was an invitation to Era's birthday party at a luxury hotel. On the other side of the room, the Harris and her friends watch our hero's reaction. The girls point and laugh at the boy, seeming to be having fun with the situation. With a smirk, the protagonist holds his phone looking quite pleased. The bully notices the spy's happiness and glares at him with an angry expression. With clenched teeth, the redhead clicks his tongue, showing his irritation with the new kid. The scene changes to the cafeteria and our hero eats alone among all the students. With his cheeks full, the boy enjoys his meal with a very satisfied look. Suddenly, his new friends approach with their trays to have lunch with him. Before they can reach him, Era's group appears and the Harris calls out to our hero. Out of patience, the redhead contemptuously tells one of the other boys to get out of the way. Startled, the classmate quickly apologizes and moves away from the popular group. The bully then walks toward our hero's table with a very superior air. With a slap on the table, he tells the spy not to give the other students an opening. The redhead scolds him for being too soft and letting others get close to him. He even adds that the poor boys are like hungry and cruel hyenas. Our protagonist continues eating in silence, just listening to his classmate's lecture. Aura then approaches and asks if the boy saw the message she sent him. With a smile, she reminds him to come to her birthday party over the weekend. With his mouth full, the spy gives a thumbs up and confirms he'll be at the event. The group of girls then walks away, and our hero waves goodbye to them. Aura's friends comment that the new kid is lucky because she has her eye on him. The redhead sighs, irritated by the attention the spy is getting from the Harris. Angrily, he throws his spoon hard onto his tray and gets up from the table. Our protagonist is confused by the bully's attitude, who glares at him angrily. The redhead then tells him to clean up his tray and leaves without another word. The spy watches the scene in silence with a serious and very calculating expression. The bully then walks away, leaving his tray behind in the school cafeteria. Angrily, our hero clenches his fist hard on the table in frustration. In his thoughts, he stares at the two trays and calls him a rotten capitalist. Irritated, the boy says he can't waste food and angrily eats everything. Alone at the table, the spy wonders if he can really eat that whole meal. The scene changes to the school exit with a line of luxury cars waiting. Our protagonist turns to his friends and calls for them to leave together. Suddenly, he stops walking and turns around in surprise upon hearing someone call his name. It was the red-haired bully offering him a ride in his luxury car. The spy refuses the offer and says he'd rather go home by bus with his friends. The redhead sighs, annoyed by the new kid's stubbornness, and glances at his yellow car. With a look of contempt, he insists and tells the boy to get in the car now. His friends watch the scene, terrified, with looks of fear on their faces. Our protagonist looks at his friends and remains silent, not knowing what to say. With a sigh of defeat, the spy finally accepts the bully's ride. He then says goodbye to his friends and walks toward his classmate's car. The yellow luxury vehicle then speeds off down the city street. Inside the car, the redhead scolds him for hanging out with the school's losers. Our hero wonders why this guy is so annoying and full of himself. The bully then forbids him from going to Era's birthday party on the weekend. The redhead calls him annoying and tells him not to go to the party because he doesn't want him there. Our protagonist is confused by the prohibition and asks what he's talking about. The bully reveals he's irritated that Ara gets along with him and glares at him angrily. He explains that his family has connections with the important Harris's family. The spy is confused by the word connections and wonders if it's some kind of code. The redhead says that the girl who will be his in the future is interested in the new kid. With a look of contempt, he says that this whole thing deeply wounds his pride. Our protagonist just stares at him in silence, showing no reaction. The bully asks if the new kid is annoyed with the situation and gives him a serious look. The spy then asks if he's acting this way out of jealousy. Annoyed, the redhead curses at our hero for suggesting he's jealous of Era. Out of patience, the spy tells the driver to stop the car immediately. The bully challenges him, asking if he's trying to climb to his social level. With a serious expression, our hero repeats his demand to stop the car right now. The redhead is surprised, a bead of sweat on his face, by the new kid's attitude. The luxury car stops in the middle of the street, and the spy prepares to get out. He then opens the door and steps out of the luxury car into the middle of the busy street. With a serious expression, he says that real friends don't do that to each other. The bully watches him through the car window, still shocked by his attitude. The yellow car then speeds away, leaving our protagonist alone on the street. Alone on the street, the young man watches the luxury car slowly drive away on the pavement. Inside the car, the redhead orders the security guard to teach that jerk a lesson right now. The security guard is confused by the order and seems unwilling to obey the spoiled boy. Annoyed, the bully shouts and repeats the order for him to rough up our hero immediately. Outside, the spy remains standing near a lamppost watching the scene from a distance. The security guard's eye gleams with a serious and very determined expression on his face. In a cold voice, the man in the suit says that's not his job at all. The redhead is shocked by the refusal and threatens him, asking if he wants to be fired. The security guard reminds him that he was hired by his father, not the spoiled young master. Annoyed, the bully grabs his phone and says that a servant should obey his orders. With his phone in hand, he calls his father and complains that the driver won't obey him. The security guard then holds out his hand and tells the boy to pass him the phone. He takes the call and confirms in a calm voice that he is listening to his boss's orders. After the call, the redhead has a defeated look, and the security guard says he understands. The security guard then gets out of the car and approaches our hero to speak with him alone. The man in the suit tells him to go back and apologize for his mistake to avoid trouble. Our protagonist just stares at him in silence with a serious and confused expression. The spy asks what he did wrong to need to apologize to the bully. The security guard explains that it's not a matter of right or wrong, but having power or not. With a firm gaze, the spy says that in that case, there's even less need to apologize. The security guard stares back at him with a serious expression, without saying a word. The two of them face each other in the middle of the empty parking lot, with a white car in the background. A security camera on top of a pole watches the whole scene intently. Seen from inside a car, the scene unfolds in silence in the parking lot. Our hero then says there are a lot of people and cameras watching and asks if that's okay. The security guard's eyes widen at our protagonist's sharp perception. With a smirk, the spy invites him to follow him to a more private place. He explains that he saw a good place to talk on his way to school. Our hero points to an alley and says they can finish their conversation there. The two then stare at each other in silence, and the security guard observes him with curiosity. The man in the suit narrows his eyes and seems to be considering the boy's proposal. With a nod, the security guard accepts the invitation and follows him into the alley. Suddenly, he slams his hand hard on the car door, startling the red-haired bully. Surprised, the spoiled boy doesn't understand the private security guard's action. Annoyed, the security guard scolds him, saying there are too many eyes and cameras watching them. The redhead then shouts that it's nonsense and that he doesn't care about it. With a punch to the security guard's shoulder, he orders the man to drag the new kid into an alley. The man in the suit says he cannot leave his security target and go far from there. Annoyed, the bully yells that it's an excuse and tells him to get out of the car now. The security guard then reveals that his father said the election isn't far off. With a serious expression, the man says that if he picks another day, he will handle the situation. The redhead is surprised and speechless at the private security guard's proposal. He then points at the spy and seems to be plotting something in his head. From the car window, the bully glares at our hero, who is standing in the parking lot. The spy then turns and starts walking away from the yellow luxury car. With clenched teeth, the redhead watches the boy walk away with great anger. He shouts that he doesn't like either of them, and that they both annoy him very much. Later, our hero is walking on the sidewalk when a boy surprises him. The bully from the other school glares at him and asks if he really lives there. With a smile, he says their conversation isn't over yet and shows him his phone. On the screen, we see a photo of his friends, captured and hurt by the aggressors. Our protagonist is shocked by the image and has a worried expression. The aggressor calls him a punk and tells him to follow him to settle the situation. The scene changes to an industrial area with several large factories and cranes. In a warehouse, we see the spy's friends being held hostage by the group. One of the bullies is smoking and seems to be waiting for someone to arrive. He throws his cigarette on the ground when he sees our protagonist arriving with the leader. The two stare at each other with serious expressions, and the atmosphere in the warehouse becomes very tense. Kneeling on the floor, the spy's friend with glasses calls out to him with a fearful voice. Our protagonist just observes the scene with a cold and very calculating expression. With a smile, the group leader asks if by any chance he followed them there. Our protagonist just stares at him with a cold look, without a hint of fear. With contempt, the spy asks what business he would have with a loser like that. The boy walks to the center of the warehouse and tells him to release his friends now. Scared, the classmate with glasses warns him that if they report it, the girls could get hurt. The group of aggressors smiles confidently and seems to be enjoying the situation. The friend then apologizes to our hero for getting him into this mess. With a hand on his shoulder, the spy tries to comfort his terrified classmate. He then tells his friend to stay there and tells him to go with him to a safe place. Suddenly, the protagonist lands a kick on his friend, sending him flying. The blow kicks up a cloud of dust, and the classmate flies into a corner of the warehouse. The aggressors are shocked and confused by our hero's unexpected action. Without wasting time, the spy lunges at the group's leader with a powerful punch. The impact of the blow is so strong that the bully's face contorts in pain. The aggressor tries to fight back, but our hero easily dodges all the blows. With a precise kick, the spy hits the bully in the stomach, leaving him breathless. The group leader screams in pain, and the impact breaks a wooden crate behind him. Lying on the ground, the bully spits and seems to be completely out of the fight. His friends watch the scene, shocked and with their eyes wide with surprise. Our hero then goes after another aggressor with a precise spinning kick. The aggressor screams in pain, and his friend watches the scene with fear and desperation. Terrified, the last bully standing starts to tremble and break out in a cold sweat. With his head down, our hero prepares to finish off the last opponent. Annoyed, the aggressor yells and lunges at the spy with a powerful kick. Effortlessly, the protagonist dodges the blow and hits him in the chin with a punch. In an instant, all the aggressors are on the ground, completely defeated. Our hero's friend with glasses watches the scene, shocked by his skill. Our protagonist turns and faces the bullies on the ground with a cold expression. The group leader gets up with difficulty, still seeming to be in shock. The spy's eyes widen when he sees that the aggressor can still move. Lying on the ground, the bully stares at our protagonist with fear and desperation. In his thoughts, the spy realizes he can't just walk away from there. The aggressor is terrified by our protagonist's cold and calculating gaze. With a serious expression, the spy asks if they are going to bother his friends again. With eyes wide with fear, the bully trembles and is unable to answer. Our hero then approaches some wooden planks on the warehouse floor. With a determined look, he seems to have a plan to resolve the situation for good. He then picks up one of the planks and approaches the bully on the ground. With a precise strike, he breaks the wood with his foot in front of the aggressor. With the broken wood in his hand, our hero faces the bully with a serious look. In one hand, he holds several sharp wooden splinters as if they were needles. The bully is terrified by the scene and starts to tremble with fear on the warehouse floor. With a swift motion, our hero throws the splinters, which stick into the wall. The aggressor gets up and runs away in fear while the spy watches him in silence. Annoyed, the bully curses at him, but our hero hits him with a precise punch to the face. The group leader is shocked by the force of the blow, his hair a complete mess. Our protagonist then gets on top of the aggressor and glares at him with great anger. With clenched teeth, the bully screams in pain from the spy's weight on him. He then grabs the aggressor's hand and asks if he really practices boxing. Forcefully, the spy squeezes the bully's hand, who starts to scream in pain. The aggressor writhes on the ground and begs our hero to stop the torment. Our protagonist then bends the bully's fingers back with great force. He then begins to use the sharp wooden splinters on the aggressor's fingernails. With a malicious smile, he calls his friend and asks him to wait outside. Terrified, the classmate with glasses obeys and runs out of the warehouse, frightened. He runs across the warehouse floor, leaving our hero alone with the bully. Outside, he keeps running without looking back and without stopping. With a threatening look, the spy says that if he touches his friends again, he looks him in the eye and finishes by saying he will show him what happens. The bully's eye fills with tears, and he trembles in fear at the boy's threat. Outside the warehouse, the friend with glasses hears the bully's screams of pain. Lying on the ground, the aggressor cries and screams from the unbearable pain in his fingers. Our hero shows the bully's hand with a splinter stuck under his nail. With a cold look, he threatens him, saying that if he meets him again, it will be worse. He throws the bully to the ground, and the splinters he used fall beside the boy. The spy warns him that he will stick splinters in all of his fingernails and toenails. With a hateful expression, he asks if the aggressor understood the message clearly. Tears stream down the bully's face as he trembles in fear at the threat. In the end, all the bullies are on the ground, completely defeated. With a serious expression, our hero asks his friend if they have left yet. With the aggressors on the floor, the spy walks away with his hands in his pockets. The classmate with glasses sighs in relief, seeing that the danger is finally over. Our protagonist leaves the warehouse and walks through the industrial area alone. In his thoughts, he wonders if he was too harsh with those boys. The scene changes to a flashback of a young boy with his hands tied to a tree. It was our younger hero hanging from a tree with an expression of pain. He seems to be exhausted and covered in various injuries while hanging there. His eyes are filled with anger and determination, despite the pain and suffering. He clenches his teeth hard and seems to be enduring unimaginable pain. Elsewhere, we see several other young people hanging from trees in the forest. One of the hanging girls looks to the side with an expression of fear and pain. Her eyes fill with tears, and she seems to be at her limit of suffering. Back in the present, our hero feels sick, with his head throbbing in pain. He turns to his friend and seems to be recovering from the painful flashback. The spy comforts him, saying that now he doesn't have to worry about anything anymore. The classmate with glasses lowers his head, seeming to feel guilty about the mess. With a smile, our hero approaches his friend to try and cheer him up a bit. He puts his arm around his classmate and says that the day's events are a secret. Confused, the boy stammers and nods, still a little scared by it all. With a smile, the spy asks if his friend has eaten anything that day. He then invites him to eat tteokbokki and says the place is very delicious. The next day at school, the group of friends enters the classroom, talking. The girls wave to our hero with a smile and seem very happy. With a smirk, the spy waves back to his new female classmates. The classmate with glasses is surprised and a little envious of his friend's popularity. With a snap of his fingers, the spy gets his friend's attention with a smile. The boy looks at him, confused with a bead of sweat on his face, not understanding anything. He then walks towards his seat, and our hero watches him from a distance. In his thoughts, the spy realizes that his friends seem to be doing well now. Sitting at his desk, he crosses his arms and watches the class with a calm look. Back in the classroom, our hero is sitting at his desk with his eyes closed. He remembers his friend Dong Wu revealing that he was called by Wu Young. The boy also says that the aggressors dragged him to the warehouse by force. With his mouth full of food, the friend says he was very scared of the situation. With his hand on his chin, our hero listens intently to his frightened classmate's story. He then remembers the bully from the other school threatening him at the bus stop. In his thoughts, the spy wonders what he should do to put an end to it. Suddenly, the redhead approaches the other bully and tells him to clear out the gym. With a smirk, the bully seems to be planning something evil. Our protagonist watches the scene with an attentive and slightly suspicious look. With a smirk, he realizes he can read the bully's thoughts. In his thoughts, the spy celebrates because that makes things easier. The redhead then approaches our hero and tells him to clear out the gym at night. The bully is surprised by our protagonist's refusal to obey. He reveals that his father is hospitalized and that he doesn't want to worry about nonsense. With a look of contempt, the redhead stares at the other bully without saying a word. Annoyed, the aggressor clicks his tongue and walks away from his classmate angrily. Our protagonist then taunts him, asking what isn't going his way. The red-haired bully turns to him with an expression of anger and humiliation. With a smile, the spy continues to provoke him with a very challenging look. The redhead threatens him and says to wait a bit until he finds a suitable place. Our protagonist turns to him and says he understands with a mocking tone. The bully becomes furious with the provocation, his eyes filled with rage. The other bully approaches the spy with a confused and curious expression. Our hero then asks why he did that to Dong Jun and gives him a serious look. The bully is confused by the question and doesn't understand what he's talking about. Forcefully, the spy grabs him by the collar with an angry expression on his face. He threatens him, telling him never to touch his friends again in his life. The bully is terrified by the threat and starts to break out in a cold sweat. With a cold look, our hero asks if he understood the message clearly. He then lets him go and says they will use the gym today to settle things. The bully trembles with fear and realizes that our hero wants to establish the hierarchy. With a malicious smile, the spy says he needs to finish this once and for all. The redhead watches the scene with anger, a vein popping on his forehead from so much fury. The scene changes to the facade of the TJ Sports building with its imposing structure. The redhead security guard stops the car and seems to be waiting for someone at the location. With a sigh, the man in the suit seems tired of all the commotion. In his thoughts, he complains about having to beat up kids to solve problems. He remembers several violent fights he had to face in the past. With a serious look, he thinks that they are definitely not on the level of children. In a flashback, the spy says there is no need to apologize for anything. With a serious expression, he stares at the security guard with a frightening coldness. The man in the suit is surprised but refuses to lose to a high school student. Suddenly, the security guard stops walking as he senses someone approaching. Surprised and with wide eyes, he can't believe who he's seeing there. A man in a trench coat and sunglasses walks towards him with a mysterious air. He greets him and says he heard he left the company a while ago. The security guard bows in respect and apologizes for leaving without saying goodbye. The mysterious man says he understands and that there's nothing to apologize for. He then asks if the security guard's mother is feeling better lately. Surprised, the man in the suit asks how he knew about his mother's illness. The mysterious man says he was a good field agent and knew everything. The security guard apologizes for not telling him anything when he went abroad. The man in the trench coat says he understands and asks what brings him there that day. With a smile, he says he's there on the country's business and that he needs help. The security guard apologizes, saying he's lost his instincts after so much time. The mysterious man then says he wants to know about President Huang's situation. The security guard remembers the president on the floor after the fight with the fake father. He reveals that he saw the article about him falling into a coma from a cerebral hemorrhage. The man in the trench coat asks if orders are still coming from above even so. He adds that it doesn't seem to be the work of the legendary Shadow at all. Surprised, the security guard asks if he's talking about the legendary assassin Shadow. The man in the trench coat reveals that the hacker attack might also be their work. He says he heard a story that the hacker Zero is actually from North Korea. The security guard is shocked, with a bead of sweat on his face upon hearing the theory. The mysterious man says that all of it is ridiculous and makes no sense at all. He explains that Shadow disappeared 10 years ago and now attacks a mediocre company. The man in the trench coat also says that Zero attacked a low-ranking company. The security guard listens intently with a serious and thoughtful expression on his face. The mysterious man asks for what reason they would do something so meaningless. The security guard agrees and says the story really makes no sense at all. With a pat on his friend's shoulder, the man in the trench coat prepares to leave. He says it was good to see him and that he'll write a report and return abroad. The security guard bows in farewell as his friend slowly walks away. The man in the trench coat waves his hand and drives off in his luxury car. In his thoughts, the security guard wishes that he will retire safely one day. He then thinks about Shadow and Zero and the possibility of them being in Korea. The security guard concludes that there's no way such legendary figures are in Korea. Back at the apartment, the fake father drinks coffee and watches the security cameras. The scene changes to the fake mother, who is cutting a carrot with a very sharp knife. With a smile, she sings while calmly preparing food for the family. The scene changes to the fighting gym with our hero and the bullies in the octagon. The redhead glares at the spy with a smirk, and the security guard seems thoughtful. In his thoughts, the man in the suit feels pathetic for having to beat up kids. With a determined look, he decides it's time to quit that job. Suddenly, the other bully says he's leaving and prepares to exit the gym. The redhead asks why he's already going and invites him to stay and watch the fight. The boy says he lent him the gym and gave him a ride, and that's enough. The redhead asks if he's still sulking and invites him to be his right-hand man. Our protagonist just stares at him in silence with a serious expression on his face. The other bully refuses the offer and says he's not interested in his proposal. He then turns and starts to walk away from the octagon without looking back. Annoyed, the redhead curses at him for his attitude, and the security guard just watches the scene. The spy then makes a bold proposal to the red-haired bully, who glares at him. He asks if the bully will become his lackey if he defeats the security guard. With a malicious smile, our hero seems confident in his victory. Annoyed, the redhead curses at him and accepts the bet without a second thought. He then says it's pointless because there will always be someone stronger to challenge him. The redhead and the security guard glare at the spy with serious and focused expressions. Our protagonist says that in that case, there's no point in fighting there. With a malicious smile, the redhead says that our hero will never be able to win. He boasts that his security guard is a former secret agent from the National Intelligence Service. The spy asks if it's true, and the security guard gives him a serious look. The man in the suit's eyes narrow, and he seems ready for the fight. With a smirk, the spy says that sounds very interesting. The security guard then tells him to apologize, and everything will be forgotten afterward. Our protagonist asks if the man has no pride as a former agent. He taunts him, saying it's pathetic to get paid to beat up kids. The security guard says that from his perspective, it might seem that way, but that's not the case. He then offers the boy one last chance to back down and avoid the fight. With a smile, our hero says he's not in the mood to back down and faces him. The security guard sighs and realizes there's no avoiding the confrontation between them. He then says he has no choice and promises to go easy on him so as not to hurt him. The man in the suit lunges with a powerful kick, but our hero dodges. The spy counterattacks with a quick and precise spinning kick at his opponent.